Today we're going to try to get some shelves set up in this garage and get things organized. These shelves that are behind me were here when we bought the house. They're a little bit small as well as pretty light duty. They're not that sturdy. So those are going to come down. We're actually going to put them up in a different spot in the garage over here for some smaller items to be stored on. And then I'm going to put up some heavier shelves over here. Shelves that we're going to be using are actually the same type of shelves that we set up in the shop. These are just a cheap, quick and easy, rough carpentry garage shelf that are super strong, very versatile. Those were all shelves that I built at our previous house in the garage, and I took them all down. I've got 2 more, which we're gonna install on this wall here, and then we're gonna build more. I've got one 8-foot section that's already built. I'm gonna put one end on the ladder here, so that way I can hold up one end and I'll hold the other end and get it set and then work my way down. And that's gonna be a little tall, but that's okay. I'd rather be a little tall than a little short, I think. I'm gonna use Tapcon screws and drill into the block and anchor into the block that way. That'll get us started there. Let's actually go back to the middle. Go ahead and try and get our second half level, which it seems like it's floating pretty flat. Now let's try and run a few more in here. Next we got to set level going front and back. So you can see we're a little bit leaning forward. We've got this one leg is already screwed on here. I basically just need a lift on that and then we'll get it screwed in there. So we got our one screw in the top hole. The bottom one is in the mortar line, so that doesn't really help us. I'm gonna go ahead and just find a little scrap block that I can screw in, like 2 screws here. Just take some wood screws and go through the side. Got another one of these. It was from the shelf before. So go ahead and get that one installed. And then we'll have to make another one for this end. I put these cantilever brackets every 4 feet. These I find it easiest to measure from point to point. This will be 25.5. And now onto the new shelves. I choose to rip a 2x4 in half to make my 2x2s. It's a little bit cheaper that way. But if you don't have a table saw, you can easily get 2x2s at the store. Or these original pieces like this one here, these are all purchased 2x2s. I did not have a table saw when I built these original ones. Then I will cut all my pieces to length. The stringers are 16.5 inches because it's an 18-inch deep shelf, and then but you've got your 1.5 inches in the front. I usually set up my stop on the miter saw and cut a bunch of those. So to make the ledgers that go on the back wall, I use a 2x4 and I notch them for the 2x2s. I just do this with our circular saw, rough carpentry stuff. This is not fancy woodworking by any means. Then we'll just notch them out with the circular saw, just like you would a joist or a rafter in your framing. Just overcut them. Knock them out. That's all there is to it. This is our 4-foot shelf, so there'll be 3 total pockets like that. On our 8-foot, there'll be 5. They're every 2 foot on center. In this case, I didn't go quite far enough. I should have cut a little bit further when I knocked it out, it tore. But I happen to be at my workbench and have a chisel, so I'll just clean it up with a chisel. But you also can just cut this further. That's all there is to that. When I extend a run of shelves down, what I'll do is I'll make this last 2x2 a 2x4 laying flat. My next ledger will pin underneath there. My next 2x2 front board will come in and screw right there, and then my next sheet of plywood will have a bearing to screw down as well, and it just kind of locks everything together. So that's how this one was already built, and I'm going to extend this another 4 foot this way, so that works out perfectly. The easiest way to get these up on the wall now is to just assemble them on the wall. So I'm going to take this ledger, I'm going to attach this here and get it set level. Double check our level. All right, now we'll put these 2 stringers on here. And we'll grab one more and go in the end. Just kind of helps tie everything together that way. And then grab our 4 foot piece that we cut to make our front. The next thing I do is I add these angled supports. I'm just gonna do the same thing down on this one, and then we'll be ready to put this plywood on, and we'll be all done. All right, now we're ready to throw on our plywood. This is 1/2 inch. This has been sitting for a while, and it's obviously all bowed, but that's fine. You just put the bow up and screw it down. I like to use 1 1/4 inch drywall screws. I do like using a drill rather than an impact driver when using these screws because they're very easy to strip out. So that's it for this bottom layer. We're just doing the 12 feet on this layer. This section down here, we're gonna leave open for hanging like hand tools, like rakes and shovels and stuff. We'll have a hanger that'll probably sit right about here. It'll be able to hang that stuff. And then we're gonna do on the top layer, we're gonna do out to 16 foot out to right here. So let's get this next one built. Went ahead and drew a mark on the wall on this end where the end of our shelf's gonna go. I can attach this end and then we can level the other end. I got this little piece of 2x2 scrap, which I can prop this end up. I didn't cut it the perfect length, it was just a scrap I found. But that's okay because it's just something to help hold that in so I don't have to hold it all, and it will get us very close. We go for the middle, set it level. And while I'm here, so I don't have to move my ladder a bunch of times, I'm gonna go ahead and do 3 or 4 more screws. All right, now we'll slide down this way. We'll do the same thing on this half. Put our level on. We'll grab our stringers. Guess we can go ahead and start on this end since our ladder's right here. Just 1 screw in these is all we need. Then on the end here, we're gonna do this 2x4. So I got this scrap to kind of tie our 2 shelves together. And we'll get the rest of these knocked in there. So now for our angled brackets on these shelves, I use a 2x4 on the bottom course when we're anchoring directly to the wall. When we have a shelf underneath to anchor to, I use a 2x2. Generally like to try and take a screw and get it started in the top here, which is easier to do with 2 hands. Really a 2 foot level would be ideal for this. I've got one somewhere, I just don't know exactly where it is. And that is looking good. So then I'll pop a couple other screws in. I like to run one down the back here. It is obviously pressed against the wall, but this just kind of locks everything in place. Lastly, we have this brace here, which we're gonna check its level, and we need to go up. Right about there is where I need to set. Get this screwed on in here. And now we're locked in here nice and tight. All right, so now it's time for the last shelf here. We got one more 8-foot section, and this is one that was a pre-built one that was left over. It's two 4-foot pieces that I joined together, and I just use this 2x4. I think if I just take these three, take this one out right here, and that's all there is to it. I think it'll be easier to install these two 4-foot sections, because this is not that bad to just lift this up. I'll put at least 2, if not 3 screws between these two 2x2s to lock these two sections together. This is what I do if I don't have a 2x4 that joins them. All right. So there's our prop on that end. We'll pick up this end. We'll push this side up until the bottom of the plywood is flush. Get it locked in level with our Tapcons. I don't really know what the best method's gonna be for this. I'm gonna see if I can just, if I screw these sheathing screws in, if that'll hold everything in place. I don't really know. It sounds like our drill needs a new battery. But yeah, that'll hold there. Now I can rub this front one in. Now I just need to level it and screw it to the wall. When I first made these shelves, I didn't have a miter saw, I didn't have a table saw. All I had was a 5.5-inch cordless circular saw that would go about 10 cuts, and then I'd have to change the battery. You don't have to have all these tools to do this. To do a project like this, you can easily just pick up a circular saw, you know, a used cordless circular saw. They're a dime a dozen at a garage sale or thrift store or wherever. Don't think you can't do this if you don't have a table saw or you don't have a miter saw or anything like that. The top of the shelf is a 1/2-inch plywood. I just get cheap BC grade 1/2-inch plywood. I rip it down 4-foot direction. These are 18-inch, so if you go the 4-foot direction, it's more efficient that way in terms of getting the most out of your sheet of plywood. Part of the reason I like the design of this shelf is very versatile in the fact that there's not legs coming down in the front. Set them wherever you want. Like I've got 4.5 feet underneath this shelf to store stuff, and I don't have anything in the way. We started to get some stuff up on the shelves now. We still got more to go, but at least we got the stuff up off the floor here. Next up, we're back out in the garden trying to get some more stuff done out there. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you back here next time.
Are you sure? I can't wait against it.